I feel like this should be front and center already. I kind of got caught up when I was actually getting ready to talk about this. So, you know, why not tonight? Because this, really needs to be discussed. And that's, one of the many problems of today. But, of course, when we talk about this particular, going right into this discussion right here, presentation, when you look at it, presentation, just as the title says, presentation played a big major role. As I daily go about my day, when it comes to music or, and the content, the entertainment that I watch, interact with, whether regardless or if it's just to be moved or entertained, you know it's insane. I mean, when you think about it, especially when you go back about 20, 30 years ago, in any form of entertainment, whether it be acting, you know, hip, acting, music, and then, you can clearly see, like when you look at it, like there used to be a lot of uniqueness. There used to be a lot of difference, and individually, when it comes to whether it's the artist or it came to the actor, actresses, things upon that nature. It's like I said, when I daily listen to, it's like when it comes to, it's specifically, specifically hip hop, or I said it doesn't matter. I mean, when you go back and you go back, of course, when you go back to the '80s, you have, of course, you have Big Daddy Kane, you got LL Cool J, you have NWA, of course, you have, and of course, some of the oldies will probably just notice, but Chuck D and or just whoever, like Slick Rick and everything like that. It's like all of them, they were their own characters, and when you get to the '90s, of course, too, you got Tupac and Biggie, you got Nas, you got Jay Z. And that's just many. It was just like it's a so lot. It was so much more in 2000s too. Just like you had Ludacris and I also got 3 6 Mafia, but yeah, you had Ludacris. Of course, you had Eminem and 50 Cent. You had but by that time Outkast, like a lot of just DMX. Missy Elliott. I say it's crazy how many too, it's just how many that they all also had. They're just divisive and just unique style and everything, appearance wise, and of course the lyrical ability, the delivery, the flow, and their word choice, and in the way that they rapped. When you look at someone like an Ice Cube, that's very blunt, straightforward to the point. He's not trying to, wrangle you around in any circumstance. Like he's just like telling it straight up to your face. When you look at an Ice Cube, and he's just super blunt, to the point, and he's like just super, super duper aggressive. And then you have someone like Eminem. I mean, Ice Cube may goof around sometimes, but when you look at somebody like an Eminem, of course, he's like with that character of just being straight up, just off the wall, bouncy, just goofy, kind of psychotic, to its like a major degree. And like it's like everybody had this like as a very distinctive voice. Like when you get to actors, also, I mean, you had the '70s. You have like Clint Eastwood and John Travolta and Harrison Ford of those like generation. And the '80s, of course, you got Arnold Schwarzenegger, you got Sly Stallone. I mean, you got Bruce Willis, Mel Gibson, and like Jackie Chan. And then you got of course the '90s. You got Leonardo DiCaprio, you got Brad Pitt, got Johnny Depp. And in the 2000s, you got Will Smith and Matt Damon, Christian Bale. It's like I said, it's so crazy how many just talent that just was especially at those times, that was just when you look at like I don't think people really. I think people obviously know, but it's like when you really like sit down and really look at the talent to where we have back then to now. It's just absolutely insane. It's because there's barely any tops. Like there's like I mean you may look at I may have touched on before, but yeah, there's barely any stars that you may know of now. A very few that's really popular in the world. I mean, like I said, what I just named, you had a lot of superstars in each generation. It's like now you just may hear about a few, like basically like cookie cutters. And it's like may and it's like it's a lot of there's it goes it's a very much go into a lot of that, especially when you get to wrestling also. You know, Attitude Era got The Rock and Triple H and Undertaker and Kane and Chris Jericho and Kurt Angle. They all, Randy Orton, Batista, John Cena, Edge. I mean, they all had their distinctive style. Whether moveset, their appearance, the characters. Like everybody was their different. It was like everybody, yeah, they were cut, they were cut from a cloth in their own right, and everybody had their own distinctive style about them. Which is more so obviously I can say today, and that's which brings me here. And it's like you don't see that a lot of days. Like I just said with mainly in general entertainment, like yeah, like you may have someone like even though I kind of think that she's like kinda overrated. I haven't really seen her yet, but when people really talk about like the next Screen Queen, Jenna Ortega, she's like in really a lot of everywhere right now. She's pretty much everywhere right now, whether it's Wednesday or Scream. I mean, and also then you also have I still haven't looked at her yet. I'm about to, but Mia Goth, she's kind of taking the horror genre by storm as well. Like and like you have like actors like the Stranger Things cast. They're pretty big, popular. I would say Zendaya also. That's kinda, but I've seen her act, and yeah, she's really good. So yeah, she has merit. But like I said, but yeah, it's like, but when you really look at that's really newer top. I mean, you have a few others, but it's like, especially when you get down to it, when those 70s, those 80s, and those 90s come together, it was a lot. It was a lot of big stars, and they were still acting, or whether it's acting, music. It was a lot of things that was going on. Like he still had a lot of stars. It was a lot. That was a really like around. And it's like now it's like yeah, so when you only get like a few, like maybe four, and like very little actors, very global talent that's really known. And that's the same thing with wrestling. Well, getting into what I'm trying to get across. Like nobody has, nobody has that presentation. Like you really don't see it. And it's like people like, it gets funny at times. Also, when you get into the political and just the upside of things, being that of course, on top of that, the generation being spoiled, and them being put also on these wrestlers, like of course, we talked about it many times before, but these wrestlers that get put on a pedestal, whether it's by AEW or WWE, they think that they're at their height, and it's like, like come on, like they're obviously not. So it's like when you get like, of course, but yeah, the presentation, you don't really like don't see that at all. And it's like it was in everywhere. The presentation was absolutely everywhere. Like I said, when you get to even like it was everywhere. Like I said, the wrestlers, whether in their characters, their promos, the personalities, it was in the promo packages, and it got you hype for their big fights. Like all it was all these little things, like all that mattered. The presentation mattered, and it's like a lot went into that. And when you look at like the really like top biggest like promo, going back to that packages, that yeah, when you look at obviously the one that comes to everybody's mind, My Way, WrestleMania 17, Austin and The Rock, and then more so you have also another one, was also my also another favorite too, Triple H and Shawn Michaels, and you also have Shawn Michaels and Undertaker. Really, they all that, it's like the music, and it's like how they set up the sequences, the scene sequences that fit that. And it's like that doesn't exist anymore. It's like you have your typical, of course, cinematic that they have to make it feel like that it's a big deal, but it's just basic, and it's just like, oh, man, they're just like they're clearly not putting any effort into it, and it's just like, yeah, you've seen it, pretty much not seen it, but it's like more so that really it's like, 'cause I know that people like to, of course, use the word cliche and really like generic, but really, yeah, like when it comes to those promo packages, like the small things, really when it comes to those, it's like really like it's just they don't just, obviously they zero effort into that, even getting you hype up to the when it comes to pay-per-views. So yeah, it's like I said, when you look at, because WWE have done that, they've done it twice now when it comes to the ruthless aggression with today's stars. And it's like, also, it's just like I said, everything mattered. The presentation was in everything. You know, even in the arenas, the title card of the WWE shows, the music, and it's like the sequences to have the wrestlers that got you pumped into the show, and it's like all that is just very basic, and it's just like this is what they got. That's all they got to offer, and it's just like a typical basic, basically a default what you can create, and basically, yeah, in a wrestling game, basically what you can just create that. Like I can do that, like shit, I can do that, and they're just basically that's on WWE Raw and SmackDown when it comes to the intros, and it's like I can do that better than them, shit like. But yeah, it's like the presentation mattered. It's like when you really look at that term, it's like another just a crucial part, because it mattered a lot, because not just also just wrestling, everybody, like I said, just entertainment as a whole, they just had their own distinctive style about them, which made them a name, which made them their own, their own personality, and they moved in their own footsteps. And it's like now you don't have that. People just copy off of each other. They claim to be, their style. They claim to be their own, when they're not. When it's just another style that you've seen 100 times before. And it's completely embarrassing. It's utterly embarrassing. It's like it absolutely makes no sense to me, and it really is a complete joke that you have wrestlers that would rather whine and bitch and just just completely act like adolescent childish intellects than on social media and everywhere else, than actually build character and actually just put effort so that into anything to make them appeal to the audience. And it's like they won't even do that. Like you gotta act spoiled. You gotta demand that I deserve this when you don't really earn it. And like I said, it's a lot of things that go into why wrestling is the way it is right now. And yeah, these are one of them. And it's like, of course, one of the big crucial, arguably, obviously, is the presentation, and it's just pretty much non-existent. But I'm gonna leave that with y'all, my fellow Cosmos, and I'm gonna see y'all when I see y'all again.